You ready to have another recording go horribly wrong? Good evening, everyone. This is Monday, October 3rd, 2016, and this is episode 25, take 2 of Due for a Win, the Atlantic City and Casino Biz podcast. I am your host, Kyle Askin, and with me, as always, is Craig Stone. Am I really the host? Is that a thing that doesn't sound right?
We're co-hosts.
We're co-hosts.
Yeah.
Well,
and howdy, by the way.
Yeah, that's right. So, for the longtime listeners, I guess there were a couple of things that were a bit different there. First, I said this is take 2 of episode 25. We actually recorded this Friday night, September 30th, and my MP3, my Skype recorder, actually ate the episode and said it was 66 hours long, and while it was a long episode, it wasn't quite that long, and it was horribly garbled and totally unusable. So here we are, back at it again, trying to get it right. And secondly, and perhaps even more importantly than that for all of you, way less important for me and Craig, is we've decided to change some things up. I mean, this is a bit of a special episode 25. I believe, as I said in take 1 of this, it's like the green chip of episodes. So we figured we'd change it up, and I would be the person who sort of leads the show, and then we will just turn it over to Craig to kind of get into the nitty-gritty of each of our points we want to talk about. Hopefully this gives us a bit of a better flow and back and forth between the two of us, but please let us know what you think of this. Reach out to us on the Facebook group or via Twitter or email or whatever. We think that it worked a bit better the first time around. I mean, what do you think, Greg?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that was the best episode we've ever recorded, possibly the best episode of any podcast ever recorded.
Yeah,
so
it's too bad it's missing, because you guys are really missing out on a treat.
Totally lost to history. So this is like the Tenacious D song, a tribute to the greatest song in the world. This is a tribute to the greatest podcast episode.
But it's just a tribute.
Not the real thing.
No, absolutely not. So, more pertinent for you, Craig, who do you think is going to win tomorrow night? For those of you who don't know, Craig is a gigantic Orioles fan, and I'm at least the Orioles are my baseball team, if I would call myself a baseball fan. So
I would say I'm in my default sports mode, which is cautiously optimistic but also terrified.
We'll see what happens. All right. Anyway, getting to news that actually anybody in the world cares about that's listening to this podcast. The city of Atlantic City has found a potential solution to all of their budgetary problems and the Bader Field problem and the Water Authority problem. So why don't you tell me about it, Greg?
Sure. So the note that I have about this is that the city is trying some weird shit with the municipal utility. And I think that kind of sums it up. I mean, not with any detail, but really the city has announced that the Water Authority has agreed to buy Bader Field for $100 million. So if that comes as a shock to you, A, congratulations on following mundane news, but also B, it should come as a shock to you because it's totally ridiculous, because Bader Field has been up for auction, didn't fetch anything close to this price. A municipal utility purchasing it that is a property it has no use for is very, very strange. And basically the deal or the reason for this is that the city could not figure out a way to, or a plan to dissolve the Water Authority. And that was part of the stipulation of the loan from the state that helped them avoid bankruptcy. So the city had this on its agenda 5 times. The city council never passed it. Quite a few times it didn't even make it to a vote. And so they were basically in violation of the terms of the loan already. The state was starting to talk tough about what they were going to do, and the city suddenly announced this sometime, I think almost 2 weeks ago now. And it's a very strange move. Basically, the Water Authority only has about $7 million in cash on reserve. So them agreeing to buy something for $100 million is quite strange. It seems like to me at least. I don't know if you agree that the state's just going to step in and shut this down, since the state does have quite a bit of oversight over the finances.
So I think the first time that we talked about this, and sorry to kind of harken back to that over and over again, but, again, this is the second time we're going through all this, but I said that in the interest of fairness, I think that, I was a person who was calling out Caesars for the financial shell game they were playing when they broke their company into three companies so that one specific arm could declare bankruptcy and not affect kind of the good assets that they wanted to shield. And to me, it's not exactly the same, but it's pretty similar. I mean, the city is essentially selling some assets to not itself, but another government-run agency. And this is a government-run agency that does not have $100 million, like you said. They had like $5 million on the books, so it's not even clear how exactly this purchase is going to go through. So I'm not really sure what's actually going to happen. Much like the Caesar situation, I think this is essentially some sort of financial shell game. And you said that there was no purpose for this land for the MUA. They said they're going to put a couple windmills there, Craig.
Oh, yeah, I did hear that.
Yeah.
So I guess, sorry, there is clearly a purpose. But it's interesting because Don Guardian, I think, he's basically come right out and said, like, this is a brilliant maneuver, and made it almost super clear that the reason they're doing this is because they cannot agree to dissolve the water utility. And since the state wants to come after both the water utility and Bader Field, this sort of takes Bader Field maybe out of that realm, or not necessarily takes it out of that, but it wraps it under the water utility and makes the water utility in deep, deep debt so that the state wouldn't want it in the first place. So I think he even used the words poison pill. He also said that other than vengeance, there's no reason to try to stop this deal. And that was a quote from a Observer article that I'll link to in the notes. And Moody's has basically said they think this is a credit negative for the city, probably because it's a financial shell game. It puts the water authority in deep, deep debt. I think they said it ups their debt ratio by something like 7 times. So it just seems strange. I can't imagine it goes through, but I guess we'll see.
We will see, as I've said over and over again. We'll actually see when something actually happens. So we still haven't gotten there yet. All right, so another piece of big city/state news that has come out is that the lobby that was working to get the North Jersey casinos approved in the referendum this November has officially ceased operations for this election cycle, correct? Do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so Our Return NJ, which was really the one marketing arm or organization, I guess, that was trying to drum up support for the referendum that's going to be on the November ballot for North Jersey casinos, has decided that it's just not worth their money anymore to campaign. They were really totally outspent by the anti-group, which were several marketing groups or whatever these organizations are called that really were hammering their message home. And this group is run by 2 developers, Paul Fireman, who I think wants to open something in Jersey City, and Jeff Gurl. I have no idea if I'm saying that right, if it's Gural or whatever, but who is at the Meadowlands racetrack, who allegedly was going to partner with Hard Rock to open a casino there if they got the license. So they were partnering up and basically said, the polls are going the wrong direction. We're spending money on this, and at this point it's just not worth it anymore. And so the quote, he says, the data speaks for itself. The current political climate in New Jersey and voters' concerns about the lack of details relating to the effort have proved overwhelming. And I think that really just sums it up entirely. Like, the voters seem to be against it. The details just don't seem to be there from the state at all as far as what the tax rate's going to be. We don't even have that established. Where the money's going to go. There's been a bunch of vague stuff from this Our Turn NJ group about senior citizens programs, which is the same argument that Atlantic City used in the late 70s, in 1978 when they passed it. So it was almost like they just ripped it right out of the playbook and said, oh, this will work again. Old people vote. But there were no specifics at all, and I think that totally doomed them. And it seems like they're realizing that now.
I have to say, one of my, and this is totally off topic, but one of my pet peeves is when government agencies say you have to pass a bill because that's what we're going to use to get funding for whatever, education, senior citizens, whatever, demographic or whatever cause they think is going to really help curry them votes. When, I mean, it's just like completely ridiculous that a state or that any government would say this because they have control of their budget. So saying that this one revenue source is going to be the only way we can fund, senior citizens, or all of the revenue from this is going to go to senior citizens, it just has always struck me as ridiculous. I mean, they say the same thing about all the state lotteries. They're like, you can't get rid of the lottery. That funds education.
Yeah, and who's against education? In Maryland, I think you used that very successfully to get casino gambling passed and then to get it expanded. It's just say, all this money, do you want your taxes raised to fund education, or do you want to have gambling to fund education?
Do you hate education? You can't vote against this if you don't. So,
yeah,
I don't know. It rubs me the wrong way. Anyway, like you said, I think for this specific campaign or this specific bit of news, the polls were trending the wrong way. I read that that the latest polls were double digits, that it was going to not be passed. So they probably saw the writing on the wall and just decided to shut it down and come back in 2 years and try again.
Yeah, I think the latest Stockton poll was over 60% against, which the polls have bounced around a surprising amount, which is kind of strange. One of the things that I just want to touch on really quickly is that the press release about this suspension of the campaign mentions, just kind of very near the end, as almost a throwaway comment, even knowing that an out-of-country gaming company that sends New Jerseyans gaming dollars to Malaysia is funding opposition ads does not have an impact. That is a very strange thing to throw in here because it's the most compelling argument I've heard made as far as a campaign strategy, and I never heard that argument made at any point. So here you had this sort of bullet in the chamber that you never fired at any point, and the Malaysian group is obviously Genting Group that runs Resorts World, that is in Queens in New York City, and yeah, they're a Malaysian casino company. I'm assuming a decent amount of New Jersey people go there, although I don't really know. It is a huge pain to get to Queens from New Jersey. I don't know that it would be that much easier for me to go there than to Atlantic City, but it's just an interesting point to make that they failed to make this point until they announced that they're suspending their campaign.
The last bit of state/city news that we have is our good friend Steve Sweeney wants to pass a piece of legislation that essentially is, I mean, it's written with general language, of course, but the legislation essentially says that Carl Icahn, if you close the Taj in October, you're not going to be able to reopen it for 5 years. Do you want to go into a little bit more detail about that?
Yeah, sadly, that's kind of the summary. I say sadly, so maybe that tips my hand as to what I think about it. But basically the idea is, I feel like I start all my sentences with basically the idea, but basically the idea behind this bill is that they want to keep people from warehousing casino licenses, or at least that's the way they're putting it, to try to get support for it. And what they're concerned about is somebody like Carl Icahn closing a casino like the Taj Mahal, which I say like, but really the bill is created for this, as you said. And they don't want them to just be able to reopen it as a new entity, which is something we've talked about, I think either last episode or the episode before, the rumors that might happen, just as a way to bust the union. So they don't want an owner who has a casino license to hold all the power and just be able to say, oh, well, you don't like our deal? Well, we're going to close, kick you all out, open up in 6 months, and we won't have union employees, but we've still got our casino license, so who cares? So that's kind of the idea. I think that is the idea. And I don't know what you think about that. Is that a good idea for right now to be doing, when you've got 4 casinos closed in the last a little over 2 years?
Maybe. So here's the way to think about it. I think that if this legislation helps convince Carl Icahn to not close the Taj, then it's worked out pretty well for the state. It's worked out pretty well for the city. However, if this legislation, all it does is piss Carl Icahn off and have him figuratively burn the Taj to the ground and then salt the earth behind him, then it was very unproductive and didn't do anything except spike Carl Icahn. So I think it depends on what you think this legislation is more likely to do. And given the timing, the fact that the Taj is closing 1 week from today, and when this news came out, it was closing about 2.5 weeks from that date, I don't think it's real likely that it is going to affect whether the Taj stays open or closes or not. So it's not my favorite piece of legislation in the world.
Yeah, just knowing, or not knowing Carl Icahn, but knowing a bit about Carl Icahn and having read about, this is a guy who's invests a ton of money, buys up a bunch of shares, and becomes a very active investor and tries to, change boards around, push executives out. This is not a guy who is going to get pushed around over some investment that probably to him is not a huge sum of money. The losses for him closing this is probably not going to do that much damage. And if anything, he probably feels like he's investing or set out to invest a lot of money in the casino in the first place. And that's not to say that, he's some angel who's coming in and trying to save Atlantic City. Certainly you wouldn't be doing it if the money was not in it for him. But I just can't imagine that this is going to do anything but piss him off. And if this passes and says, okay, you can't open the Taj for 5 years, the best case scenario, I think, is that he sells it, which I don't know. I mean, there's so many closed casinos. You're basically asking somebody to find a buyer in a very difficult situation. And the worst case scenario is he just says, oh yeah, well, screw you. I'm going to sit on this thing for 5 years and you're just not going to have a casino. And to me, with Atlantic City in the position it's in now, you want, and the state budget sucks. You want gambling revenue coming in, and a closed property doesn't help that, especially when it's going to be the fifth closed property in the last couple of years. So I just don't think it's a good idea. I'm totally with you on that.
Right, and it's not only that, but Carl Icahn has turned down many offers, or at least a couple offers that we know about, to sell Trump Plaza, and it's taken him forever to sell some of his other properties he has in Las Vegas, like the Fontainebleau, I believe he is still the owner of. Is that right, Craig?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's at least heavily involved.
So I don't know if this is going to have the effect that the state government is hoping that it's going to have, but we'll see. I mean, has this actually been passed? I haven't seen anything about it, so...
I have not heard anything updated. I do not think it's gone through because I'm pretty sure it would have come across our radars.
Our radars. So I'll just, like everything else in the state city news, I'll assume that nothing is going to happen until something actually happens, but I don't think this would be a very good idea.
Yeah, and I would think that the other casinos involved would step in and say, hey, let's not do this, and maybe push the right buttons with other backers in the state. Who knows? You kind of never know what goes on in these that leads to support of a bill like this. Obviously, this is very union-focused and pro-union, and it just came out today that Local 54 is heavily pushing Steve Sweeney to run for governor. I just saw that in the press of Atlantic City, so maybe there's a little bit of that motive there, but I won't get too much into the sort of conspiracy theories. Maybe I already have.
Yeah. All right. So I think we can move on from the city-state news. A big piece of hotel news this week or this episode is that Harrah's is doing a $30 million renovation on the Bayview Tower, which is going to be completed next summer. Do you want to get into that a bit?
Yeah, this is totally a surprise to me because to me the Bayview Tower is the second best tower at Harrah's. Like when I see Bayview Tower comped, that's very nice, because usually I'm only getting Marina and Harbor.
Yeah, I don't think I've stayed in the Bayview Tower. I believe I've stayed in the other three. I think I've stayed in Marina, Harbor, and Waterfront. Is that Waterfront?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So,
but I don't think I can't remember staying in Bayview, though, so I'm not sure.
So my understanding about Bayview is that they're pretty dated. Certainly the reviews seem to indicate that those rooms are pretty dated, although I can't imagine they're as bad as Harbor and and Marina. Those are certainly seen as the two worst towers. So the press release that Harrah's put out, or that Caesars put out about this, says that the rooms will boast approximately 600 feet of space, that the redesign will have rich hues of lavender and blue accent colors contrasting white and gray tones and contemporary furniture, as well as 55-inch LG LED televisions. So, I mean, that just sounds like a sort of cleaning and redoing of the carpet and changing the sheets or the duvet covers and all that kind of stuff. Probably.
I have to say, you really love reading those press releases.
I enjoy it.
And you really, you emphasize like lavender.
It's a passion.
You
Kyle.
love it. I know.
It's a passion.
You think you can't get enough of it.
I'm trying to figure out how to get on lists so that people will send them to me directly and I don't have to go find them. I would love to read those things all day.
Probably if we put more content out at Due for a Win and these companies thought that we would just run their press release, that we would get all the press releases we could handle.
That is true. They'll find you.
They'll find you.
So obviously my first reaction was, shouldn't they do the Marina and Harbor Towers first? But the reasoning behind this, as they stated in the press release, and I won't quote more as much as I want to.
You love it.
Is that the Bayview rooms are really close to the new Waterfront Conference Center. And so clearly they're making a move to try to get conferences in. They will probably put the hotel blocks for conferences in the Bayview Tower once it's renovated. And so they feel like this does more for their bottom line than making the worst towers nicer. They figure, let's make sure the conference people are satisfied. This is actually part of a $200 million investment into Caesars Atlantic City properties. Other future plans include upgrades to the pool after dark, which I know we take advantage of quite frequently, and by that I mean never. Although we do go sit out at that donut shop and drink our frozen drinks over there.
Yeah, it's great.
And I guess, I don't know, I mean, my first reaction to this was, do people who book these rooms or book a hotel for a conference really go out of their way to stay in the tower, the correct tower that's closest to the conference center, or are they just like, it's Harrah's, I'll just book Harrah's?
I suspect that most people who set up conferences have a specific block, and you're supposed to use some code, and then you'll get a discount on your room, and that would probably be in this tower that they are renovating, the Bayview Tower.
Yes, that's true. I am not notorious because nobody actually cares. I end up not booking the conference rate semi-regularly because I either find a cheaper rate elsewhere, or I wait too late to book and the conference room is all booked up. The conference block is all booked up and I end up having to book on my own. Typically not even in the hotel that the conference is in. But to me, if I'm looking at the rooms, and I never go to conferences, so I'm a terrible person to talk about this, I kind of just feel like, oh, well, I'm in the hotel, so who cares? But obviously you're right. If it's a block thing, I'm going to guess most people are booking with company money anyway and getting reimbursed and don't really care where they book. They'll just book wherever the conference says to go. So probably a smart move.
Yeah, I mean, and I think it makes sense. While no one really enjoys when they go to Harrah's and they're in the Harbor Tower and their showers don't drain and you just are standing sort of mid-leg deep in water, it's probably really important for them to please their conference guests because that is a lot of money, both from renting out the conference space, the ballrooms, selling all these hotels at a pretty decent price, getting people in the doors that would not usually be there. I think it's probably a pretty big source of revenue for them. So I think it makes some sense.
Yeah, and really from a revenue standpoint, it makes sense, not to get too wonky on this, but there's a reason that non-refundable airfare or flying on a Monday morning is insanely expensive, and it's because they know that so many people are not actually paying for it out of pocket. Their company is paying for it. And so especially in Atlantic City where midweek rooms are dirt cheap, this is probably a chance to generate a lot of revenue, really to go up exponentially in what they can charge for these rooms midweek if they can drive a good conference business. So I expect they have done the math and are not fools about which tower they're renovating, as much as I would prefer them personally to see them renovate Marina and Harbor Towers.
I mean, it's not even about driving up rates necessarily. It's about filling these rooms midweek that they would never normally be able to fill, especially in the off season. Because if you're running a conference, it doesn't really matter what time of year it is, especially if you're staying in the marina anyway. It's not like you're on the boardwalk. So,
you get that conference money. Charge $50 for a box lunch.
Yeah, man.
Want to talk about resort fees? That's how you pay for these renovations, Kyle. Resort fees.
Yeah, so resort fees have gone up thanks to Mark in the Facebook group for pointing this out. He said that the Caesars fees went up to $32 from whatever they were before, 28 something. And when he told us that, Craig updated the website, and since he was already in there, he decided to look at all of the other hotels in Atlantic City, and you found out a couple more of the resort fees went up. So do you want to talk about that?
Sure, just really quickly. I was pretty shocked that I hadn't heard about this because I thought either somebody would have mentioned it or tweeted it or complained about it, or I would have seen it since I checked Total Rewards site pretty obsessively, but I haven't gone through to the booking phase in a while. So Mark, as you mentioned in the Facebook group, who has been the Facebook MVP the last few weeks, at least as far as sheer number of mentions on the podcast, noticed that when he booked a comped room, there was $32 on there instead of $27.80, I think it was before. And that's because they've added $3.68 to the resort fee, which rounds up after tax to $32 even. So that's even before you pay for the room and the tax on the room rate, you add $32 to whatever it is that you are paying. Golden Nuggets fee also went up $5 from $10 to $15, taxes included on that. Tropicana's fee went up from $12 to $15, and taxes also included on that. But it's interesting because Caesars now, the Caesars properties, Bally, Caesars, and Harrah's, have almost double the next highest resort fee. So at $32, the second highest is actually Resorts, which is kind of funny, at $16.40. And then you've got just about everybody else is $15. Golden Nuggets $15, Trop is $15, Borgata I think is $15. And so it's interesting because I guess it just speaks to how big their ecosystem is that they can do this. And I don't know. I mean, to me, when I'm looking at comped rooms and I see $32, it's kind of annoying to me because it means that they've set this artificial floor of $32. So I don't know how you feel about that. Does this dissuade you at all from staying at Caesars properties?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. I mean, it's twice as expensive as the next most expensive, right?
Yeah, almost twice as much as Resorts. I don't know. I might spend 16 extra bucks to not stay to be at Caesars, especially instead of Resorts, just because of location and nicer rooms.
Right, but still, it's not like, I guess Caesars is, other than Borg, it probably is the nicest casino in Atlantic City, but it's completely excessive. And for me, it's like if you are going to stay there and if you just don't care what the resort fee is, then you're just encouraging everyone else to raise their resort fees. So I will try to make it a point to not stay in Caesars. Unless Craig, you get your founder's card and then we don't pay the resort fee.
Right. So the whatever the math is on whether the founder's card is worth it or not, which we talked about in episode 23 with Eric, just got a little bit.
Add $64 to it just from this trip coming up.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I think what annoys me about it is the idea that it sets this floor where midweek, the fact when I'm getting a free room, it's because they cannot give the room away. Like, I'm such a low roller that if I'm getting it for free, it means that they will not fill the casino. There's no way it's going to happen. And so now, instead of getting me in to gamble and really enticing me to come, they're saying, well, you can come, but you're going to have to pay $32. And at this point, if I'm going midweek, I'm getting comps at Resorts. I'm getting comps at Borgata. And why in the world would I pay $32 to stay at a Caesars property when I can pay $15 to stay at Borgata? It doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't make sense. And basically, I don't think you should.
Yeah, I don't think anybody should. So unless you just really, really love Caesars, in which case you've probably figured out some way to get around this fee in the first place, then yeah, I mean, if this bothers you, certainly just take your money elsewhere.
So if you don't mind, let's take a quick non sequitur away from this, just to remind people that we are doing a Do for the Win meetup on Friday, November 4th at 7:30 at the Wild Wild West. Definitely let us know if you're going to be there. But you're planning on going Friday through Sunday, correct, Craig?
Yes.
I'm probably going to go Thursday through Saturday. So the question is, where should I stay Thursday night? Should I stay just somewhere totally separate and weird compared to where I'm going to stay Friday night, which I assume will be, close to all of you guys? Should I try something new out? Should I look at non-casino properties? What should I do?
I don't know why you'd look at non-casino properties, especially if a casino property is going to be free, which it is on a Thursday.
Which it is, because it's Thursday night. And
I mean, I'd almost guarantee that you're getting that Thursday night comped at Borgata, because I'm pretty sure I am.
Last time I checked, it was $59.
I would check again because I just got an email today and it was comped for me. So I would check it because I bet you it's comped.
Well, I'll have to check.
And if in that case, Borgata just done.
Stay at Borg. Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't know. Like I guess see what the rate is. It's something like Golden Nugget might be interesting. I don't know. Like that's a place that we just haven't spent much time. I know you're not really a fan, so maybe that's not a good suggestion.
Yeah, I don't think I'd stay there. I mean, I always get resorts and trop free as well, so that is an option.
How about the inn at the Irish pub?
That is true. I could do it.
That would be quintessentially Atlantic City, like pre-casino even, and you'd have a story to tell.
I would have a story to tell. Well, anyway, we can figure that out later. I just wanted to bring that up. I'm trying to figure out what I want to do and where I want to stay for my portion of the trip. So anyway, let's move on to actually what I think is probably the biggest piece of news that came out in this episode is that the Revel now has a new name. And unfortunately for Mike C, it's not the Pearl. So do you want to tell us what the new name is and how Glenn Straub came up with it?
Sure. I mean, it should have been the Pearl. I'll say that. The one they came up with is 10, and I don't think it was Glenn Straub who came up with it. This actually got posted in a press release from Robert Landino, who's a Connecticut developer who's actually rumored a couple months ago to be in talks with Glenn Straub, and the next day the press of Atlantic City, I think, asked, and Glenn Straub was like, I've never even heard of Robert Landino, and then they pressed him a little more, and he's like, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, he's one of many people we're talking to, and then here he is giving out a press release saying that he's the CEO of the management team, and they've signed a 25-year lease, and it's going to be 10, and it's got this infinity logo, and they've brought in Alan Greenstein, who's the former Revel CFO, is also going to be the CFO of 10. And the Twitter response was not particularly good. So what's your feeling on 10 and the logo?
First, the first thing that confuses me is that they're bringing back anyone from the Revel executive team. That just blows my mind. I know it's the CFO. I know that he doesn't have much to say about how they ran the casino or anything like that. But personally, I don't know if I would go near anyone on that executive team if I'm reopening the Revel, considering what an unmitigated disaster that was. I don't know if you have thoughts on that.
Yeah, I was really surprised by that also, because I would think they would want to do everything they could to distance themselves. I mean, again, CFO is not somebody who's making huge property-wide decisions, I would think. But,
and by all accounts, it was never any financial issues or anything that got Revel in trouble. It was the actual operation of the casino.
Oh, yeah, it was, I mean, there's a laundry list of things, but marketing, operation, design, elevators not going to the casino floor for the hotel. Right.
So anyway, about the 10 and the logo, I think they are awful. I mean, I think that it's a pretty terrible name. I think that the Pearl, as an example, would be a much better name. Why is it called 10 if the logo is infinity? I mean, it doesn't make sense on so many levels.
It's quite weird. And certainly, people made a lot of jokes about it on Twitter already. Things like, I can't remember, 10 for the number of months it's going to be open, or infinity for the delays that it's taking, I think, were a couple of the jokes. So the press release, humor me again in the press release. So this press release from 10, I guess is the name of the company. 10, joined with our Infinity logo, represents our mission to provide the highest rated amenities and our daily endeavor to offer an infinitely perfect escape for our guests, families, and businesses. So that is just A+++ press release speak. It is complete and utter bullshit. I don't think there's a meaningful word in there. I think it feels like a stretch to say that 10 even means like 10 out of 10. Is that even what you think of when you hear the word 10? I just don't even put that together in my head.
I suspect that is what they were going for. Like, hey, it's a 10. Like, yeah, it does have good connotations with it. Like I said, I don't really like it, but honestly, I don't think it really matters. Once it opens up, once it's operating, you'll just be like, yeah, I'm going to 10, whatever, and then you won't even think about it. But for the next 6 months or however long it takes for them to open, it'll be a source of constant derision for them and something for us all to make fun of them about and laugh about.
Yeah, certainly if it fails miserably, people are going to point to this as the first sign that things were amiss. I would argue the fact that the press release came out and that Glenn Straub didn't seem all that happy with the fact that a press release came out and that you've got a guy who has not run a casino operation before as the CEO of the management team. Those are probably bigger concerns than the name, because at the end of the day, if it kicks ass, people aren't going to care what the name is. Like, they're just going to, if it comes out and it just oozes class and everything's great, 10 is going to mean great things. 10 will mean 10 out of 10, exactly like they said. If it sucks, then everybody's going to laugh about it. So I think the name is only as meaningful as the property is good or not good. So, yeah, I'm totally with you on that as far as it's going to be mocked for 6 months, and then once they open, people are going to be focusing on things that are not the name, unless it just goes horribly wrong. The other thing is that Glenn Straub had mentioned that he was considering Zen, which is meant to draw this Asian crowd, Asian gamblers that he's really keen on attracting, and he was trying to sort of spin it like 10 still does that, and I really don't see that at all. I don't really see how that works unless 10 has some meaning that I don't get, but that seems kind of strange to me and disjointed.
My suggestion, if you want to attract the Asian gamblers, is probably not to ban smoking in your entire casino. But although I personally loved that about the Rebel, but by all accounts, that was horrible for business.
Yeah, and since smoking, you have to have like 75% of the casino floor non-smoking anyway. When the ceilings are that high as they are in Rebel, I think it probably doesn't make that much of a difference. I mean, certainly there are people who just hate the smoke, but I'm going to guess most of those people aren't hanging out in casinos too much.
Right. But no, I don't know why 10 would attract Asian gamblers. To me, that doesn't make much sense.
Nope.
So, the other kind of piece of big news is that despite his outburst at the hearing, the CRDA has approved the site plan. So there's still a bunch of steps that Glenn Straub has to go through, like get a certificate of occupancy from the city, which he famously didn't get, which is famously why the casino didn't open back at whatever his original release date was. He needs to get a casino license still, because that still hasn't gone through. So there's still a lot more stuff that Glenn Straub needs to do, but he at least has a CRDA approval. So is there anything more you want to talk about that?
Yeah, this seemed kind of strange because everybody seemed so down on it after the meeting, kind of shocked by his reaction where he said withdraw and stormed out, which we've already talked about and don't need to get into again. He actually even won a concession on this about $100,000 in back taxes that Revel owed back when it was open. And basically what they said is we'll just let the courts decide, because that's still going through bankruptcy court, which is obviously where Glenn Straub bought Revel out of a bankruptcy auction. So, yeah, a lot still needs to go on. It seems like a pretty big win. I mean, this is a huge step forward for them. Obviously, something that arguably should have been done a long time ago. But like you mentioned, there's still other steps that need to be done. Actually, the press release from 10 mentioned a goal of opening in the first quarter of 2017. So that would be January, February, March. It's unclear to me if that means just the casino or the whole property. Obviously, Glenn Straub has thrown out multiple dates. June 15th. Now he said early October, I think, which is early October now. So clearly that's not happening. And I don't know. I mean, we've talked many times about how it doesn't really make any sense to open in the off season. Do you think that Q1 is realistic? Do you think it's smart? Where are you at on this announcement?
I think if any other man other than Glenn Straub were running this, I'd say it's both realistic and smart. But given all of the problems he's had so far, I'm backing off of the realistic claim a little bit. However, assuming that he has a competent team in place and he gets all his licensing in order, which there's 6 months until the end of Q1 2017. There's no reason that this shouldn't happen. Honestly, it shouldn't be a problem to get everything ready to go to open up in the next 6 months. I mean, especially considering Rebel was in pretty good shape when it closed down, unless something really terrible happened while it was closed. It shouldn't be that big of a deal to get it back open.
And who knows, maybe Landino's the guy who jumps in and whips this whole thing into shape as far as just getting the freaking paperwork in to get a certificate of occupancy and get the gambling license. I mean, obviously, I think that Landino and his team's going to need to apply for a gambling license, so maybe they can spur Straub along and get all this done and move it to the finish line. And like you said, 6 months should be plenty of time for that. So we'll see if that actually happens. I'm optimistic. I was optimistic about June 15th and then July or whatever the next date was, like an idiot. But I think come next April, we will have 10 open and accepting customers, at least in some sort of soft phase. But maybe I'm stupid for thinking that.
And on whether or not you think it's smart, I mean, I think that somewhere like March would be a great time to open it up. You have a couple months to work out the kinks before Memorial Day, but it's not like opening it up in November, let's say, would be, where you have 6 months of really dead time before it picks up. To me, something like March makes perfect sense. If I were running the Rebel, I would probably be aiming for March or April myself.
Yeah. You want to move on to gaming news?
Gaming news, your favorite part of the podcast.
Of Take One.
Yes, your favorite part of Take One, and also going to be your favorite part of Take Two. So first, you posted in the Facebook group, Skill-Based Gaming is coming to Atlantic City this year. You posted a video in the Facebook group of what appeared to be a pretty old and kind of crappy looking first person shooter that is somehow going to be some sort of skill-based gaming called Danger Arena. So they're putting that into the TR properties in Atlantic City, and it's going to be really the first taste of electronic-based skill-based gaming in Atlantic City, but not the first case of skill-based gaming in general, because they had the free throw shooting contest at Borgata, I don't know, about a year and a half ago or 2 years ago. So do you want to talk about Danger Arena?
Sure, and obviously poker, also skill-based gaming.
That's true, but it's not, Craig. That's a game of chance.
Is it? So
I mean, officially it is.
It's still pending the Division of Gaming Enforcement approval in the state of New Jersey, so obviously nothing's a slam dunk yet, but interesting to see Mark Meltzer, who is at Edge Vegas, Edge EDGE Vegas on Twitter, was at the Global Gaming Expo in Vegas and posted a short video, very, very short video of this Danger Arena game. It was not at all what I was expecting. I think when I was picturing skill-based gaming, I was picturing a standard slot machine and then a bonus game where you do something that can affect your bonus payout, like the skee ball slots. Basically, obviously the skee ball slots had a big notice when you got to the bonus game where you actually played skee ball. It said your results in skee ball do not affect the payout in the bonus game. So just sort of saying, well, now it does. That would be a great sort of skill-based game in my mind. This seems to be basically you are playing against a couple other players in this first-person shooter, and how you do against them is going to affect how you and how everybody else gets paid out. So it's kind of interesting because it feels very different than what I was expecting. The plan is for 3 of these triple unit carousels at Caesars, so like 3 machines around kind of this triangle pattern, I guess. At Caesars, 2 of those at Harrah's, and 2 at Bally's in the Wild Wild West portion of Bally's. That's according to Daryl McEwen, who is Mr. AC Casino on Atlantic City Weekly, also 7 Stars Insider. It's very interesting. I don't know how you feel. Are you interested in going and trying this thing out when it comes to AC supposedly by the end of the year?
Yeah, I'll sit down and play it once probably. I mean, first-person shooters aren't really my forte. Last time I seriously played one was my freshman year of high school. I used to play a lot of Team Fortress 1, which used the Quake engine, and I was never particularly great at them, but yeah, I'd give it a try.
So I'm freaking terrible at these games. Like, I could not be any worse. I've played some of the, like, SOCOM, which is, like, you know, PlayStation 2 back in the day. I think when I was a freshman in college, horrible at it. I was horrible at Quake and Unreal Tournament and all those things. So I'm sure I'm going to be bad. I want to try it just because it's interesting and it's different. But what I'll say is I think if you can beat this thing, and if you can just by pure skill dominate and take other people's money, it will bring people out. Like, you will have lines waiting to play this because people will learn to beat it. Like, they will be the best player at it, or, you know, highly, highly skilled, and basically just be able to kick anybody's ass. And at that point, it's almost like esports in a much, much smaller scale. Like, you're playing against 2 other people in a short, sort of small area, which you could argue is more like playing your console with 2 friends in your apartment than playing esports. But there's money involved, which that's not really how I video game with my friends, although maybe it should be. But
it should be.
Yeah, why don't I? That is a good... Well, probably because I don't ever play video games with my friends is the answer. And who wants to put money on, you know, Super Mario Brothers 1 for Nintendo Entertainment System?
Who doesn't?
That's a good point.
How would you even put money on that?
Who gets the furthest?
Yeah, that's true.
You'd have to put some stipulations about, like, warp worlds and stuff like that. Like, you can't do that. That's cheating.
That sounds like more effort than it's worth.
It does. So, I don't know. I think this is interesting. I think it'll be interesting to see how much it takes off once it comes to Atlantic City. I think it'll be interesting to see how big the difference in the payout is, like what your return on investment is if you're really dominating in this game, because I think that's the thing that we just have no idea about. So that's kind of the first thing I'm going to be looking to find out. And if it's one of those things where if you're really, really good at it, can that return on investment go up a ton, or are you really just talking about like a few percent, in which case it's probably going to be less worth it. Although, again, if you can beat it, if it's beatable, people will put in the effort to beat it.
Yeah, I mean, of course, if you incentivize people getting good, of course, people who are naturally good at it will come and play and work at it and be able to beat most other people that kind of come up to the console and give it a shot. And so there probably is money to be made there. I think the thing I equated it to is kind of like, let's say it were a fighting game like Street Fighter or Killer Instinct. Not that anyone's played Killer Instinct in 20 years, but Mortal Kombat, Marvel vs. Capcom, whatever. I mean, it's the same thing. If I walk up to a random arcade cabinet, I'm just going to get smoked by whoever's already there because they've played so much more than me and they're more naturally talented than me. So it might kind of be like that, and it might really make the first time of most of the people who go up and play it not very fun, but we'll see how it works. I'm interested to see it.
Yeah, and that's kind of a problem, right? Like, if it totally scares people off, if you go in knowing that you're just going to get your ass kicked and lose your money in a few minutes, like, that's not going to be good for the long-term success of the game. I mean, sort of in the way that Daily Fantasy has had this problem where new people come in and just lose, and then they're out of money because they're sharks who are just sucking up all these matchups against crappy players and kind of seeking that out, and who have so much data and all that stuff. That's a conversation for another day. But I'm interested to see, because I think this is obviously this is a big mission to try to attract a younger generation that's not interested in slot machines. I think if it's done right, it will do that. I'm personally more interested in something like a sort of Mario Kart style, simpler, not shooting people in the face kind of game. I mean, I've gone to Barcade, which is a big sort of bar that is an arcade. The name is pretty self-explanatory, and they've got like Daytona machines, and it's awesome because you sit down with 3 other people and you play this racing game. And typically, you know, it's a bar, so it's not 3 other people who have been playing this game nonstop and just dominate. And so that's really fun. But if you're just going in and you have no chance, that's less fun, which now we've said, I think, several different ways. So I don't know if you want to move on to other sort of millennial gaming that's meant to attract this young generation that I guess we're technically a part of.
You mean like Shack Jack, your new favorite thing to ever do in a casino?
Well, I've never done it, but I'm interested.
How does it compare to Royal Derby, Craig? Is it already moved past Royal Derby for your number 1, even though you've never done it?
No. Because I know I know that I want to go back and play Royal Derby. I do not know that I'll play this. I could play this once and I'll never want to go back again. That's possible.
But you sounded pretty excited about it.
Yeah, and everything I've read about it makes me more excited.
Just dive in. I'm not going to slow you down.
Sure. So Shack Jack is a stadium set up blackjack, which there's already stadium blackjack and stadium gaming in Mohegan Sun in Connecticut, Palazzo in Las Vegas, the Sands in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Shack Jack is already at Parks Casino in Bensalem, Pennsylvania. So this is not necessarily something that's totally new, although it's new to Tropicana. And there's actually, just today, I think, Tropicana posted their first ever podcast, the Tropcast, that was all about Shack Jack. So if you want to listen to a quick 20-minute podcast about Shack Jack, you can hear the explanation. They actually have Dynamic Gaming Systems, people from that company who is the developer of the game, on to talk about it. And so Shack Jack basically is video blackjack, but with a live dealer. Like, you're sitting at a video terminal, but there's a live dealer in the casino actually dealing cards. And the general manager of Tropicana, Steve Callender, says, Shack Jack makes it possible for new or casual players to play blackjack without the intimidation of sitting at a communal table with a dealer and experienced players. He also says serious players will be happy because they don't have to worry about noobs coming in and screwing up your hand. That's not a direct quote. The previous one was. And
stupid noobs just sitting at third base, hitting 12s against 2 and stuff like that, just wrecking you.
Yeah, wrecking you, definitely only hurting you, never ever
only
ever
hurting you, never helping them, even though it's actually basic strategy, but still wrecking you.
Yeah, and obviously we know the math says that they're just as likely to help as hurt, but that doesn't.
And we know the math says that you're supposed to hit 12 against a 2, despite everyone at the table just yelling at you every time you do it. But continue, sorry.
Yeah, splitting 2s against a 7 is the one that always gets people mad at me for some reason. But the other thing that this has going for it, and that they talk about in the podcast, is that it's going to be $5 minimum anytime. So Friday night you go to Tropicana, and the cheapest blackjack tables are, $15 if you're lucky. Here's an option to play $5 with a live dealer if you really want to call this a live dealer game. I have a feeling a lot of people are going to say that this doesn't satisfy them in the same way as sort of a real just sitting at a table with 4 other people and a dealer, just you and the dealer. Obviously, they're trying to bridge that gap because and they even straight out mentioned, like, there's distrust of the standard video terminal where there's like a woman with some kind of low-cut top on trying to entice you to come play crappy 6-5 blackjack at a video machine. There's distrust of sort of, oh, well, if I lose, it's because the machine knew what I had, which is, obviously that's not how it works. These things are highly regulated, but the interesting thing to me about this game is not that it's stadium gaming and it's some new concept. It's more the idea of how this game is dealt in a different way that makes it so that a bunch of people can play the same hand and have different results where they are not affecting. Like, it's not like you're voting on a hand and saying, oh, well, 51% want to hit, so the other 49% are screwed. Like, that's not how it works. So let me explain how it works. You've got a bunch of terminals. Every terminal has a video screen that's like eye level and a touch screen that's down, by your hands. There's a dealer somewhere in the casino. They mentioned on the podcast, on the Tropcast today, that the dealer could actually be, elsewhere in the casino, but I don't think that's probably the way that most people are going to want to play it. They're going to want to be in the same room as the dealer and be able to at least see the dealer that they're standing there and not like locked in some closet. So the dealer is there with a continuous shuffler. The table looks for the most part like a blackjack table. It's a 3-seat basically blackjack table, although nobody's sitting there. And the dealer deals it out just like a normal hand. They have an up card and a hole card. They show three hands, 2 cards for each hand. When you're sitting at one of the terminals, before the deal starts, you select which hand you want to play. And so the video actually puts a little Shack Jack icon over the other 2 so you don't see them. You're only looking at your hand. So you get your 2 cards. The dealer gets their up card and their hole card. They're actually scanned in real time and show up digitally on your touchpad as well. And so to this point, it's just totally a normal blackjack game. What's interesting is how it changes from here, because obviously they want 100 people to be able to play a hand at once. And so at this point, you say, do you want to hit or stand? A bunch of people can be making the same decision on the same hand as you. And the dealer now deals from the deck into what is called a hit box, I think, is what they call it. So on the video, or on the table, you see this hit box off to the right, and that's where the dealer deals the cards. If you've chosen to stand, that card goes to the dealer, assuming the dealer does not have, hard 17 or higher and is in a stand hand anyway. If you've chosen to hit, the card comes to you. And so it's scanning that digitally, and so everybody's terminal knows what their hand is. So basically, depending on what you've chosen, the next card that goes into the hit box either goes to you or to the dealer. Or it's actually meaningless. Like, the hand could be totally over if you've said to stand and the dealer said to stand, or if the dealer's busted. They could still be dealing cards because other people in the game still need cards, but that's how you can get hundreds or thousands or really infinite people playing the same hand and having it not actually matter for other people who are playing the same hand. So it's really interesting to me, just sort of from a game design standpoint. The question is, do you actually want to play this?
No, not really. I mean, I'll give it a shot, but personally, I'd rather sit at a real blackjack table and have a real dealer there and play an actual game of blackjack that comes from a shoe that, sometimes third base will mess you up and sometimes third base will help you out. That's what my preference is, but to each their own. The casinos obviously hope that this, A, reduces their dealer costs, but B, maybe introduces some new people to blackjack, people who would be otherwise too intimidated to play. So, I don't know. We'll see.
I do think there's something to the intimidation factor that dissuades people from sitting at a normal blackjack table. I do think there's something to lower limits, obviously. I mean, if you go to Tropicana and the lowest limit is $25 and you're not comfortable with that, this is obviously an alternative that's cheaper than that. So I could definitely see myself playing mainly for that reason. Like, I'm there on a Saturday night, everything's really expensive, I just kind of want to hang out. I mean, I definitely want to see it. So I definitely want to play it just to see it and to experience it. It's entirely possible that I'll play it and just think, like, man, this really sucks. I actually don't like this at all. I'd rather play real blackjack. Like, I feel like I'm playing on a laptop or something, in which case I'll just go play on my phone. I don't need to be playing Shaq-themed gambling at the Trop. But I do think that's interesting. They've also sort of cheesed it up a little bit with some design elements. Obviously, it's very Shaq-themed. It's supposed to be very fun. Like I mentioned, they've got those basketball hoop cup holders. There's also something where Shaq apparently will randomly appear on your screen and give you a prize. And that can be like a real prize, like a t-shirt or something, which I think you'd normally say, like, who cares, who wants a t-shirt? But then look at how many casinos say, come earn a tier credit and get a free t-shirt on Wednesday. Resorts. So obviously there is some incentive there. I think it adds a layer of sort of goofiness that I feel like the smart part of me should not appreciate, but I just can't help myself. Like, free stuff is free stuff, and like the corny sort of kitschy nature of this, I want to see it and I want to play it in the same way that I wanted to play Royal Derby so bad. So I don't know. I'm interested. I'm excited about it, probably more than I should be, and I'm definitely looking forward to playing it when we're there in a month.
So speaking of free stuff, are you going to be wearing your resort shirt to our meetup? Your like quadruple XL resort shirt? No,
it is a triple XL, so I will not. That thing is a blanket. So
you probably should be wearing it.
I should. My 2015 Hot Summer Fun at Resorts t-shirt,
yeah,
triple XL.
That's probably what the people want.
It is. Well, it's not going to happen. Sorry, people.
Aren't we in the business of giving the people what they want?
I don't know that we're in any kind of business, really. We haven't monetized at all, so I don't know.
Yeah, well, it's fine. I mean,
This,
it brings me value doing this, Craig, and isn't that what's important?
Yeah, so basically you're saying that I should put on that crazy triple XL resort shirt for your own amusement.
At some point during the trip, that needs to be what you're wearing.
So
I don't know. Yeah, Craig, for those who know, you're not really the type of person that would at any point in an Atlantic City trip just be wearing a t-shirt, I think. So you're a bit more formal than that, I'd say, usually.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty rare that I'm wearing just like a t-shirt and jeans. I usually have, a polo shirt because I'm that formal.
Yeah.
I'll bring that if you bring the satin casino jacket.
We'll see. It can be worked out.
We're making
so for those
here.
of you who don't know, Craig and a couple other of my friends bought me a satin casino jacket. That's double-sided, of course. It's TI on one side, I think, and Mirage on the other, I believe. And I believe it's the Mirage side. I'm not sure which side, but one of them is like bright purple. Like really, it's fantastic.
Yeah, I think it's the TI side, and it's like an anchor.
Yeah,
or not, or like one of those boat wheels.
Oh, it's man. It's so pretty nice. It was one of your better eBay purchases.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with the $30 or whatever I spent on that. So back to multiple people betting on the same thing, because we need to knock this thing out, right? So the same concept, except scaled up. Golden Nugget is actually now offering live dealer gaming online. You have to be in New Jersey to play. Blackjack, roulette, or dragon bonus baccarat. Obviously, roulette and baccarat, it doesn't matter. Like, you could have infinite number of people at the same roulette wheel, except that space won't allow it. So that doesn't change the game at all. It's interesting because I said I'm really excited about Shack Jack, but like I just don't give a crap about this live dealer online play at all.
And not only that, but I demanded. I mean, I requested initially, but then when you were balking a bit, I said that you need to do this. And that was on Friday when we recorded this the first time. And it's apparent that you still have not tried this out.
No, I didn't try it out.
You need to just buy into the Golden Nugget. I'm sure that it's like what? It's probably $5 max, maybe even cheaper.
I don't know. They need to entice me with some sweet sign-up bonus.
Oh, really? You've never bought into the Golden Nuggets online casino?
No, I think only.
Yeah, I mean, why would you ever buy into an online casino if there wasn't a sweet buy-in bonus?
Right. I mean, we came up in the age of video poker where everybody was giving you some stupid bonus that you had to.
That was our heyday, was the golden age of video poker when we were in college.
Not video poker, but
online poker.
I think we both just misspoke there. Online poker.
Yeah, sort of. 2002 to 2005 was really a heyday for that. So, well, all right, we'll keep waiting. I'm sure there's probably actually a free version you can play because you're in the state. Although I'm not 100% on that.
Not with live dealer, I'm sure.
Probably true.
They're not going to be paying someone to deal to some idiot who's just using fun chips.
Anyway, I personally have nothing further to say about either Shack Jack or Golden Nugget. Do you have anything that you want to say about?
Just that I don't mistrust the machine, so I'm fine just playing digital blackjack instead of live dealer blackjack if I'm on my iPad anyway.
I personally wouldn't do either. I mean,
yeah, it's not.
For me,
it's just burning through your cash for one thing.
Right. The thing with playing a game that's it's like so low variance just with a machine, it's just like you're going to lose money, right? Like it's going to just be a slow drain on your bank account. At least with the slot machine, you can hit a jackpot or something, and like, okay, so maybe something interesting could happen. And like, yeah, on a blackjack you could go on like a run or whatever, but there would be no joy in sitting down at a machine and playing electronic blackjack for me. So I don't know. I think there's something to at least doing live dealer online because I think I'd prefer that, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, I'll say it's exciting to talk about these kind of innovations, whether it's the live dealer online or the Shack Jack or the first-person shooter skill-based gaming, just because it's something different and it's cool to see these casinos try to do different things rather than just say, oh, well, you're going to resorts, here's an offer for $20 match play. Like, just marketing and trying to shuffle people to different casinos in the same who were already going to Atlantic City anyway to actually try to do something. I think this might bring some people to Atlantic City. Maybe that's overly optimistic, but it'll just be cool to see some different, interesting stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose. I mean, I wouldn't call live dealer online blackjack an innovation. I mean, it's been around for a while. I know I've seen it many years ago, just when I was bigger into sports betting, and most of those places also had casinos, and I never really played in the actual casino, but I know that they actually had live dealers for their blackjack games, and I don't even think that's like 1 to 100 like you're talking about now. I think like you could actually get a seat and it's like you're playing the hand or whatever. All right, are we ready to move on to the close?
Yeah, let's do it. So I think we cut about 15 minutes off of this thing from take one.
Yeah, it's not bad. So, as I said in the middle of the episode, if you are interested in either meeting the two of us, unlikely, or, Eric, who we've had on as a guest, or anyone else that listens, much more likely, please.
I think Neil was on the latest episode of You Can Bet on That, by the way, as a caller.
Yeah, I did hear that. Actually, a couple of people that are in our Facebook group, I believe, were on 2 episodes ago, HY, and that, I don't remember the guy's name, but he has a Nationals logo as his Facebook icon, Carl. If you want to meet either the two of us or any of our far more interesting listeners, please come to the Mountain Bar in the Wild Wild West, Friday, November 4th at 7:30. There was actually some talk about it in the Facebook group was building today, so it actually seems like there may be more people there than we initially thought, so that's great. Just quick, over under, how many people do you think are going to be there?
10.
I'm going to go with the over.
Over? Ooh,
yeah.
Optimistic.
I mean, just with us and our friends, it's going to be like...
Oh, I wasn't including us and our friends.
Oh.
So like 15?
Oh. I'd say that's... I don't know.
Is that overly optimistic?
Yeah, I might take the under, but we'll see.
I think it's going to be a packed house. They're not even going to be able to fit us in the Mountain Bar. We're just going to totally take that place over.
No, so anyway, it should be a good time. The last meetup was a really great time. I know that at least most of the gang that was there last time will be there again, and it sounds like a bunch of newer listeners and newer Facebook group members are going to be there. So it should be fun. Friday, November 4th, 7:30 at the Mountain Bar. Let us know, Facebook or Twitter or email, if you're going to be there or not. If you think that all of the conversations that we've had that came from a post on the Facebook group sound interesting, please join our Facebook group at facebook.com/group/do-for-a-win, or just search for Do for a Win on Facebook. I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again. The Facebook group is really fantastic. It's where I get a lot of my news on Atlantic City, which is great because it's like you guys are doing my work for me, and I love that. But seriously, the conversation is super great. I mean, we don't really have problems with, let's say we don't have problematic conversations. I haven't had to go in a single time and tell someone to knock it off or delete a bunch of posts or anything like that. Follow us at doforawin.com for our podcasts or to see all of our other content, which we post very sporadically. You can find our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play. Search for Do for a Win or just for Atlantic City, and we'll be up near the top. You can send a message to Craig either at Do for a Win on Twitter or to doforawin@gmail.com. Is there anything you want to say before we... Oh, I said I was going to say something before we stopped, but I forgot. So to HY, he had a bit of feedback in the Facebook group about how I waffle sometimes when Craig asks me a direct question and I neither say yes or no to it. I just say, I don't know, or we will have to see. You're probably right, and I probably do that a bit more than I should. And while I think that it's important to not pretend to have all of the information at your fingertips or to know everything, especially in this age of, we're going through the election now, and that's what I think people as a whole want from the candidates, is for them to act like they know everything, or want from their pundits, whether it be political pundits on the right or the left. I don't think that's ever going to be my style. I'm probably going to be a bit more thoughtful about things. I think a bit of intellectual humility and admitting that you don't know is good. But I will try to be better when Craig asks me a question. I will try to answer with a yes or a no if it's a yes or a no question. And I won't say I don't know or we will have to see. So I think you were correct, HY. So I'm sorry about that, and I will try to do better. And to Mike C., who I think was worried that I might go too far, I don't think you have to worry about that. I just don't think it's my personality to become this sort of pundit, which I mentioned. What do you have to say, Greg?
Well, somebody has to balance me out when I'm sitting here talking out of my ass for 20 minutes, so I appreciate that you can be the calm person, and when I am just acting like I have all the answers at my fingertips, you will tell me that I'm flat out wrong, such as with the union conversation that we had last episode.
I don't actually think you do that. I'd actually say I don't think you do that at all. But
I'll try harder then.
And for those of you who don't know, the Tropicana released their first podcast today all about Shack Jack. So if Craig's 30-minute talk about Shack Jack, his monologue didn't inspire you enough and you need more, please listen to the Tropicana's podcast about it as well. And you can get 20 more minutes of Shack Jack content, which I know is exactly what you want.
Yeah, and then after the meetup, we can all go to play Shack Jack. I'm sure Kyle's on board. Maybe we'll have to.
You don't even want to, like, we don't even want to play Shack Jack. We just want to hear you talk about it for another half hour.
So I'll play on Friday, like right when I get there, so I can talk about it for just hours on end when we're actually at the meetup.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
I think that's a good plan.
So anyway, as I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, we did switch it up a little bit. I'm trying out the host, which I think the benefits are it keeps me a bit more involved in the conversation. And it helps even out the amount that we talk a little bit, though I suspect it's still not 50-50. So let us know how you think it went. Any last words before we sign off, Greg?
No, just good luck at the casinos if you're heading out sometime before we talk to you again.
All right. Yeah, this has been a little bit of a long one, but definitely best of luck if you go to the casinos. Let us know how you do in the Facebook group, and we look forward to seeing you all 1 month from tomorrow.
Yeah, and hopefully this thing recorded.
And we will talk to you all in a couple weeks, maybe with a special episode, but maybe not. We're still working out details, but we'll talk to you guys soon. No? You take your 45 minutes of Shack Jack and you like it.
Yeah.
It's good for you. It builds character.
Sit down and put those headphones back in. I'm not done talking about Shack Jack.